Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cosmic Owl Astrology. I am Louise Eddington, your wisdom weaver and cosmic owl. Anyway, here is the week ahead for today, right through till next Saturday. So July the 20th through to the 26th. It's a late coming because I'm just going to speak in general terms about what's happening in the world right now. I am having a heck of a Mercury retrograde so far, and it's not just Mercury retrograde. It's Mercury is the guide for Gemini and for Virgo, and we've got so much happening in Gemini and Virgo with Uranus having moved into Gemini, and Mars conjunct the Virgo South Node, both of Mercury's signs and more, and the moon's in Gemini as well. Anyway, the main thing is, well, there's two things happening. So if you have a lot of mutable energy, like I do, so much in mutable signs, which are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, then you might be feeling it like me. So, and it's just stuff, but two things happened. My international orders for my book, so yes, you can pre-order signed copies still. I've realized I charge nowhere near enough shipping because of our dear leaders' tariffs and the taxes that other countries are charging. Germany, for example, is huge. In some cases, and thank heavens I've only got 18 international orders, 140 something domestic, Germany's charging like three times as much as the book to ship it. So I will honor it, but any future international signed orders will have to pay the import taxes for their country themselves. I have no control over those taxes. I can't send them as a gift. It's just not cool. So anyway, so that's that. The other thing is I still have not got my pre-order link for general sale on Amazon and other places for the paperback. So I'm still waiting for that. Long story, issues, things like that. What's the other thing? There's all kinds of things happen. Oh, my software. My astrology software has just gone berserk. So for this week ahead forecast, I'm actually using a different app to give me the transits for the week ahead. So it's less kind of detailed as previously, but needs must till my software gets sorted out. But I can still share the chart. So I'm going to share the chart, and this is the week ahead. And we're starting on July the 20th. So here we are, we're already there. The moon is, as I mentioned, in Gemini. Uranus is in Gemini. Venus is in Gemini. We've got Sedna there too, but not everybody looks at that. But Hygeia in Gemini, asteroid Hygeia. So that's very erratic, Mercury-guided energy. And then, as I mentioned, we will be having, well, it's right now, actually, Mars conjunct the South Node in another Mercury sign. And we also have energy in Pisces, the other mutable sign, asteroid Lilith, the North Node, of course, and Nessus, the centaur, revealer of abuses of power. And time for the buck stops here. So all of this is creating a lot of havoc. So I'm really a fan of not sweating the small stuff with Mercury retrograde, but some of you may be experiencing bigger stuff. And anyway, there's still no point in sweating it because I can't do much about it other than work on remedying these issues. but this is square to my sun. Uranus is opposing my Mercury. The moon, I have a Gemini moon, so I'm having my lunar return today, and it's also opposing all my Sag. Venus and Hygeia are also coming up to oppose my sun. So this explains why I'm being so impacted. So Mercury retrograde things do happen, but more so if you are being aspected, and it's okay. It's short, it happens a lot. It's a sign to slow down and smell the coffee and just work with it and roll with it like I'm doing for this video. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in general. But I also wanted to talk about, the news a little bit before we dive into the week ahead. I just posted on my Facebook what apparently is the leak of this letter or card that Donald Trump is supposed to have sent Epstein. It looks very much like his signature. So, I know there's all those denials. Anyway, I do think there's more going to be coming. So there's also a lot of chaos in the news. And another car drove into a crowd in LA this time. There's more murders by the Israelis of Palestinians. It's all crazy. And Russian airports had to close temporarily because of Ukraine drone attacks. So anybody that thinks that Russia is winning, they really do not know what's happening. So anyway, here we go into the week. The biggest aspects today. Well, we've had one already. The first one was Mercury trine Ceres. I did a whole video about this trine because this is the second of 3 manifestation signs. Now, this is important because it's in fire. Fire is very creative, but it's also about burning down what's not working. And so because it's this journey of this retrograde, I did a whole video on it. You can find it in my feed. Is asking us to change our perspectives and cross boundaries. Okay, Ceres is about what nurtures us or nourishes us, and about sacred feminine power, for want of a better word. She's associated with many layers. I did a great live stream with Celeste, Astrology by Celeste, on Instagram, talking about this. She's associated with climate change, and how society nourishes us, as well as our own personal nourishment and family nourishment. And so it's about so many layers, Ceres. She really is kind of an important personal planet. She's a personal planet. I lay out why in my book. Anyway, these two are also boundary crossers. So I think this is about changing fixed views, burning down old views, and learning new ways to do things. Okay. Anyway, that was earlier today. Then the moon moved into Gemini at 6:21 a.m. Eastern, and now Mars is conjunct this south node. The official time is 9:18. My software is a bit off at the moment, but I'll get it. I've reported it to the creators. We just had an update, and often then there's a bug that comes up, and anyway, you'll see. But either way, this Mars South Node conjunction is happening all day. And of course, that really means it's opposing the North Node. And then Mars is going to oppose Centaur Nessus. The buck stops here. But this is huge. This is Mars saying cut things out. Again, this is a mercurial sign. Cut out feelings of how you do things, the details, and learn how to do service differently. Now, I watched a really interesting live stream, thanks to my friend Lisa Wolf for sending it to me, by Tad Sturmer, who I'm actually in his Patreon, and he is really a great guy. He was talking about how we do resistance. Okay, he said protest is not resistance, and that kind of and I'm still not a fan of the word resistance, because what you resist persists. But resistance is refusing to go along with things, he said. Anyway, you can find that on his Instagram. But it's things like that, listening to things that help change your perspective and how you do things and how you do meaningful, practical work in the world. Okay, Mars has a tendency to go, let's cut this out. Mars is action and will, and is going to move forward and say, do things differently. So, and then we're bringing in that more spiritual or interconnected energy of that North Node as well, because of course Mars is opposing the North Node. So this is kind of the habit of what we're changing. Soul habit, the South Node. Virgo can be, very critical, very worrying as well, can worry. We kind of may have this long ingrained habit of kind of being critical and forceful and things, rather than moving into doing something in a meaningful way and integrated way. So that was a long description of that, but it is a big aspect. Oh, by the way, I have pulled 3 cards for the week, and we'll look at those at the end. Okay, so let's move a day forward, not 50. Okay, I was looking at something for 50 years increments. July the 21st, Monday. The first aspect we get is Mars again, still really conjunct the South Node, makes a quincunx aspect to Pallas Athena over here. And in fact, I'm going to draw some lines on here to show you how these planets are speaking to each other. But the quincunx to Pallas is exact. Okay, so we're getting that. So, and then we've got Venus and Hygeia conjunct over here. That was happening earlier in this day. So this is square to Venus and Hygeia, making this quincunx to this and making a T-square as well because of the nodes. So really all of this is happening together. So Venus is conjunct Hygeia early tomorrow. Mars will quincunx Pallas Athena, and Venus will square the nodes. And that's on the bendings. That's also a turning point. So that means Hygeia is also, excuse me, coming up to square the nodes. Hygeia is holistic health. This is Gemini in the sign of community, and also learning, perceptions, ideas, voice, all of those kind of things. Mutable, again, change. The moon will conjunct all of this earlier in the day too. I can actually show you, but really all of this is working together. Then we've got this quincunx, okay, and this is actually because Mars and the South Node are square to Venus in Gemini and Hygeia. This is making a Thor's hammer to Pallas Athena and Chariklo. Wise justice, space holding for healing. Aquarius, seeing the bigger picture, thinking about how we can do things differently, out of the box, uniquely. I go back to changing your perceptions and all those kind of things. Okay, so massive, massive day, and a big turning point as well about how we are going to deal with what's happening in the world and change how we approach it to change what's happening. That's kind of the bigger picture. Huge again. Also, and if I know I talked about this in my daily posts. Eris stationing retrograde. I said yesterday, the 19th. Well, that was due to that software. But of course, see, she's just like, this is all over the place. Anyway, so see, now it says July the 21st. It's just nuts, my software at the moment. But here we are back at Monday the 21st. Did you see how I was hitting on its stationing and it was not going to the right spot? But anyway, Eris is stationing retrograde. Monday, she is stationing retrograde, or yeah, times are different as well. Anyway, my software will sort out. But either way, it's a big station because Eris has a very slow orbit. And she's been in Aries since 1920s. She is the table turner. She fights for the outsiders, but she also fights for kind of justice in many ways. A lot of people associate her with hate, mainly because of the myths written by men many years ago, but she is the sister of Ares. She used to roam the battlefields and douse herself in blood after the battle. I kind of feel like that was kind of like this baptism of blood, about going, look what you do, look what we're doing to each other, kind of thing. I don't see her really as hate, although she probably does feel something somewhat hateful. She's also best known for throwing the apple of discord to the fairest into this wedding of the elite gods and goddesses and causing them to argue amongst themselves because she was the uninvited one, deemed too ugly to in nature to invite, because she's kind of like this. I always kind of see her as a bit like Lisbeth, I think that it was, in The Girl in the Dragon Tattoo. Very damaged, very hurt, fighting for others that have been hurt. Lisbeth was fighting, these network of sexual abusers, which kind of goes back to Epstein, right? Anyway, Eris is stationing retrograde. She will be a retrograde until early 2026. Because she's very slow moving, she'll only move back to 24 degrees. So this is a point really of major change, and anytime this is aspected is going to really kind of see, now it says 24th again, but anyway, oh, I'm a bit sick of my software today. Anyway, back to the 21st. But the stations of these slow moving parts, so this particular few days around this, she is very potent, is my point. Okay, so at 25 degrees of Aries, another big turning point, as well as all those other aspects for today. Oh my goodness. Let's move another day forward to the 22nd. So that aspect where I drew the lines with Venus and Hygeia, and of course the moon was there, squaring all of this, carries on, but with Venus now making a trine to Pallas and then a trine to Chariclo, which that will be followed by Hygeia. But that is kind of like us looking at how we can bring this justice for women or other people that have been othered. It's working with all the other energy, how we can strategize instead of just going kind of thing. Okay, be smart. The moon will move into Cancer on Tuesday, its own sign, for about just over 2 days. And we have the sun's ingress into Leo. Okay, on Tuesday. So happy birthday to all Leos. But what this is also doing is increasing the amount of fire in the sky, we've got all of this in Aries, sorry. Incidentally, this is Okiroe, the daughter of Chariklo and Chiron. I've started adding her in because I think she's an important centaur. But anyway, the sun's ingress into Leo is adding to all this fire, this passionate energy. It's also adding to the energy of operating from the heart and joy. Okay. And then Hygeia will actually square the nodes fully. So this aspect is still all activated. Hygeia, holistic health. How can we look at the holistic health of our communities, our relationships, our connections? Okay. And then, of course, Hygeia will aspect Pallas and Chariklo as well. But also on this day, on the 22nd, the sun, newly in Leo, will sextile Uranus. This is going to be chaotic week. This is going to be breakthroughs, breakdowns, not knowing what to expect the unexpected. Things will be very quirky and wonky all this week, I'm going to say. Okay. The sun, this is more fire and air, but it's also about thinking creatively and differently. Okay. On to Wednesday. Wednesday, Venus and Mars square off exactly. And of course, this is the divine feminine or the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine in all of us. And this is a square, but it's also associated with all the other energies I've kind of seen. This is about how can we work to integrate the divine or sacred feminine and masculine within and without. And having Mars just been on that south node, this again is about thinking differently and creating a new way of working and doing the right work in the world. Okay, I'm going to post the link to Tad Sturmer's live stream in the description, because I think he gives a really interesting perspective on it for all of the things that are happening globally, but also for what's happening in the US. And the sun will then quincunx asteroid Lilith over here. Another aspect of adjustment, saying this is the talk to the hand. We have to take a more spiritual, integrated approach in many ways, that could say. Oh gosh, it's really hard doing this just without my proper list, because I'm trying not to make sure I don't miss anything. But on the 24th, the sun, now at 1 Leo, will trine Saturn, okay? And Saturn is retrograde, going back into Pisces. This might bring a little bit of stability or a little bit of a reality check as well. But it will also bring some focus and commitment and determination and drive to work on building this different approach that we are also being invited into. And then as well on the 24th, the moon will move into Leo, and then the sun will trine Neptune as well. So let's, because those two are really working together. So this is really about letting go of those old rules, changing these perspectives, bringing in this more integrated mind, body, spirit approach to everything that you do and everything you're creating. But look at this as well. As the sun trines Neptune, the moon is also involved. There's so much here about integration of all opposites, supposed opposites, about bringing things into center, ideally right into your vagus nerve, and really contemplating how you do everything, bringing everything back in together. Okay, so this will apply to every single thing in your life. Then later on the 24th, we have the actual Leo new moon, opposing Pluto. I did a whole video about that as well. I've never seen such an intense new moon, to be honest. I'll just quickly talk about the aspects. It's opposing Pluto. It's making two fire and air grand trines, because it's making this fire grand trine here to Black Moon Lilith as well, which is our wild elemental self, our part of us. And then pointing to, makes a kite pointing to Pluto. But then we have two, because this fire grand trine also has an opposition between Black Moon Lilith and Sedna and Uranus. These are epoch-changing aspects and new beginnings on this new moon. We've also got this envelope pattern that's activating the mini grand trine between Uranus and Neptune and Saturn and Pluto, that's going to be active so much over the next few months. And if you want to go to my video on the new moon, you will see we actually have what's called a golden yod between Mars and the south node, Black Moon Lilith, and that is all pointing. It was at Saturn. Oh, I can't quite see it without taking everything out. Go and watch the other video if you want to hear all about that, because it's massive, massive, massive new moon. So make really strong intentions. I am actually going to read you this John Sandbacher's symbols. I talked about them in the new moon, but I'm actually going to read the whole thing for you for this new moon. So Leo 3, we always go up. Did I talk about these on the... Anyway, I'm going to do it now. I think I only talked about the rickshaw, which is the Chandra symbol. So the Omega symbol is walking down the street, a person passes their double. He said a man passes his double. I'm trying to reword all of these. So walking down the street, a man passes their double. This is so spot on with all this mutable Gemini energy, Virgo energy as well. Before I read what the symbol means, he said the degree angel is Hasia, I don't know. No guilt, universal medicine. Virgo can be guilt as well, right? Anyway, it says you're pulled in many directions. If you jump around from one thing to another too much, you may be entertained for a while and will maybe elude temporarily what your deep inner self knows it has to do. You keep asking yourself, why am I focusing on this? Your goal is to rein in your curiosity and continually come back to what is important. The Chandra symbol, a rickshaw, loving to run here, run there. It can be a means of connecting and synthesizing all into increasing patterns of harmony and progress if you allow your intuition to guide you where to go next. Or it can be just a lot of scrambling around in a desperate effort to avoid those things you really need to look at and those places you really need to go. Now, the Azoth symbol, which he said, I watched an interview with him, is really about the root of your chart, the basis of security, which will be deep inner self. So this is a person teaching the practical application of spiritual principles. So this is for 3 Leo, but this is also talking about that Mars conjunction with the South Node and opposing the North Node. Practical application of spiritual principles. And the Pleiadian symbol, which is John Sandbacher's rewording of the Sabian symbols, is a female priestess having her head shaved. I dreamed that I had my head, I decided to shave my head. I don't think I'm going to, but there's something about that because hair is connected in many ways. in many cultures with a big spiritual part of us, shaving that off is a sign of letting go of these old principles and beliefs, I think, and stepping into new ones. Okay. So I'm actually also going to read, and this, yes, this is a longer video, but what a week it is again. Okay. I actually want to read you Elias Lonsdale's interpretation of the Chandra symbol. Okay. 3 Leo. So remember, it's a rickshaw. He said, hyperactive, engrossed in sensations, absolutely fascinated by the ins and outs of everything, training yourself arduously to become completely present in the action. That's that focus on the South Node as well. Insisting upon getting it right, aiming for spirit and flesh to merge, knowing how to do it and feeling sharply motivated. However, the little self does get carried away with the literal outward experience so very easily. You must battle to harness your powers and to pull yourself away from random delight. It's quite a journey with one great thing going for yourself. You just know that you can do anything you set your mind to, and you are correct. Wow. Okay. This is, and I just want to come back to the energy of that new moon. Leo is the heart and creative self-expression. So there you go. So that's your guidance for that. More guidance on the new moon than I already gave. Okay, so on to the 25th, Friday. This is the day the sun will exactly oppose Pluto earlier in that day, but it's all part of that new moon. But the sun opposing Pluto, the big light, and the moon opposed too, is shining a light on the shadow and the excavation and what needs to be thrown away to stop you living from joy and ecstasy as you really focus on what matters for the future, I'm going to say. On the 25th as well, Uranus over here is actually going to, which Lilith is it? Is going to square asteroid Lilith, yeah, over here. That's rebellion, rebellion supreme. But remember, we're being asked to do it differently. Okay. And the moon moves out of Leo and into Virgo next Saturday, the last day of the week. And on Saturday, we actually have no major aspects. But of course, the moon will oppose some of these energies. Of course, it will then oppose asteroid Lilith and square Uranus, or more mutable, more change, more emphasizing, bringing that mind, that soul and spirit, the spirit and physical together to do things differently. Message keeps repeating over and over. What a week. Anyway, so here's the cards. Oh gosh, what? Oh, it's like, but the cards do reflect all the things I've talked about. And so let me just get, because I want to read you the book things for this one. So this is the King of Blades. This is I am self-assured. This is Theseus in the myth of Dionysus and Ariadne. I want to read you the quotes with the book, and then I'll kind of tell you what I think this means. A sword never kills anybody. It's a tool in the killer's hand. A hero is someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than oneself. Joseph Campbell. This is I am self-assured. And I'm saying this is asking you to be very self-assured in how you are approaching your thinking and your ideas. This hero holds great authority and is clever, swift, insightful, self-assured, and confident, offering a courage and an astute mind that is just and serving to those who require aid and assurance. This is a call, I think, to step into this, okay, through these changing perspectives. So I'm not going to read the whole book. So anyway, then we get more blades, more swords, if you like. So we get the 4 though, which is stability, but it's also I am withdrawal, and this is rest a while. There's so much chaos going on this week. You really must spend some time coming into center like this, perhaps stopping all those distractions as the symbols already hinted at, blindfolding yourself and coming into center to really get clear on what your focus is and what matters and how you can do things differently. And then at the end of the week, we get the glorious, and bear with me, you will see it in a second, the manifestation, the magician. Let me read the quote for this one. The intentions of a tool are what it does. A hammer intends to strike, a vice intends to hold fast, a lever intends to lift. They are what it is made for, but sometimes a tool may have other uses that you don't know. Sometimes in doing what you intend, you also do what the knife intends without knowing. Interesting quote. I had not read that before. But this is about feeling enthused to manifest something that you feel is rising up within you. And this will grow from the other cards, right? The magician invites you to use your power and courage to retrieve some of your dormant talents and skills that you don't recognize as a part of yourself. Carl Jung called our submerged creative potential the golden shadow and said it was where our greatness sleeps. It could be our inner gold too. Robert A. Johnson wrote a great book called Inner Gold. He's no longer with us. Anyway, all your gifts may not yet have been discovered. Like all genius inventors, some creators may become so excited with their work that their ego becomes swollen and inflated, which can lead to a possible devastation. Be mindful of this. Keep your feet on the ground and your tools nearby, for then it is more likely you will experience this mysterious and powerful energy as positive, magical, and highly creative. You will find yourself full of gratitude and magnificence as unexpected possibilities and gifts become glaringly conscious within you. The magician invites you to seek out your golden shadow. Honor the divine tools that lie within yourself. You are above and below. Wow. Amazing week. Listen to the advice of the symbols. It's very chaotic, but you can really come into some focus and set some magical manifestation opportunities in so many ways if you work with this energy. Much love.